Welcome back to RotoQL University. In this episode, we're going to be discussing team matchups and how they relate to picking DFS players. Team matchups are a very important part of who you're going to pick. So generally, we want to target teams that are going to score a lot of points, and to get an idea of that, we can look at some of the Vegas data. When you look at team over-unders and team spreads, they can kind of give you an idea of who's going to score the most points on any given day. And most points for a team usually translates into a lot of fantasy points. An over-under can be a great indicator of how a game's going to play out. Higher over-unders mean more points is going to be scored in the game, which means more fantasy points are going to be scored. In tournaments, you can kind of help you predict ownership, that people are generally going to pick more players for games that are going to have higher totals, and that's for good reason. You can see all the totals within the Games tab on RotoQL, and there you can get a sense of which games are going to have the highest scores. Let's take a look at how we can analyze team matchups across sports. In NBA, pace is a big one. You can more pace means more possessions, which equals more fantasy points. Then you can also take into look at how the opposing defense's ability to perform is based on the expected points too, and as well as look at how injuries are going to affect an NBA game. If a player is ruled out, you can see how much the line changes and take that information into account. In NFL, you can look at kind of get an idea of the home and away differences. Some players perform better at home. Look at kind of the strength of schedule, what the past performance of the teams is, and get an idea of how a game is likely to play out. So situations where you want to target a running back are when the team's going to be up, because that means more carries, and likewise if he's a pass-catching running back, if they're behind, it means there's going to be a lot of underneath throws, which can translate to a lot of fantasy points. In MLB, you're going to kind of look at what the weather is. If the weather is warm and the wind is blowing out, that's going to lead to more opportunities for the hitters to hit home runs, doubles, triples, where you can score the most fantasy points, as well as figure out what the pitcher ability is at a very high level. And then you can kind of get an idea of the park factors too, which are how does each ballpark differ in the ability to lead to scoring. Game flow is getting an idea of how a game is expected to play out, or flow. So when looking at the Vegas data, what the team's expected points are, you can kind of get an idea of what's going to happen in this game. Let's discuss an example when the Patriots are playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Patriots are favored by 7 points, and the total is 55 points. We're going to kind of project what the Patriots are going to score based on these pieces of information. So the Patriots' expected total is going to be the total divided by 2 plus half the spread. So in this example, it's going to be 55 divided by 2 plus 3.5. And that's going to lead to 31 expected points for the Patriots and Tom Brady. And likewise for the Steelers, we're going to do 55 divided by 2 minus 3.5, and that's going to lead to 24 points. So we know that there's going to be a lot of fantasy points in this game, because with a total of 55 points is well above what the average total in an NFL game is. And then we can kind of see that Ben Roethlisberger is going to most likely be playing from behind, which is going to lead to more pass attempts, more points for all his pass catchers and Ben Roethlisberger. And then we can also learn that the Pats are likely to be ahead. So that means more opportunities for their running backs, because when teams are ahead, they tend to rush more. So we can use that information to influence our decisions. Now we're going to take a look at how you can utilize RotoQL to look at these metrics. You can dive deep into our team matchup data in our player section. You can choose players by total, team projected points, and pace to kind of get an idea of expected game flow. find which players to target. And then you can take a quick look at who's trending in our insights section to find players who are Vegas favorites. And then you can also look at players on a hot streak with good team matchups.